right. Well, you got them to get to know each other, but I would like to get to know my audience as well. First, I'll start with myself. I'm András Kővári. As Imke said, I work with customers in the high-tech manufacturing sector in the Benelux. Been at AWS for 8.5 years. I live in Delft. I'm Hungarian. I have 3 kids. Always happy to be here in Eindhoven. A lot of my customers are here. What about you? I've been here last year. I'm really privileged that I'm here again. It was a much smaller room last year. We've done such a presentation together with Felipe, so we're here back together. And also then I started with getting to know you. So let's start with this one. Show of hands. Has anyone been at last year's presentation that me and Felipe did? Wow, there are actually some people. Thanks for coming back. Okay, now a lot more hands this time. Who have chatted with an LLM before? Probably everyone, if you're here. Good. Who has been coding in Python in the last year or so? Okay. Who has been attempting to train or fine-tune an LLM? Quite some people. More people than last year. That's interesting to observe. All right. And who thinks they understand what are agentic workflows or heard of domain-specific agents? Yeah. It is an emerging field, and that's why we picked this topic. We're going to jump right into something interesting that we feel is kind of on the edge of what's happening right now, and more is going to happen in the future. So my role is, as I said, to work with customers at AWS, and we decided to reflect a bit on where we see the work going, what are some of the trends that we see, and where things are heading when it comes to generative AI applications in the real world. To get started, I want to bring up this quote from Mr. McCarthy, because we see a lot of work out there that is powered by AI, but we don't call it that way, right? We see a lot of these things also in our company at Amazon. It's when it comes to robots or paying with your palm, or we call it intelligent search or whatever. We don't call it AI. And that's a good measure of success of technology if we don't call it AI. I don't know if you noticed, we talk about AI more in terms of technologies that we are working on that are in the future, actually. To give you some more examples, in Amazon we've been applying AI for over 20 years. When it comes to Gen AI, we've been also deploying it in all kinds of parts of the company. And we like to share some of these experiences and work with customers to see how we can make them successful on it. Just some examples of Gen AI applications inside our company, right? Gen AI is powering the Amazon pharmacy business to really make sure that the subscriptions are prepared quickly. And then we've got customer reviews, not on the Dutch side, but if you see on Amazon.com, right, you no longer have to scroll through all those reviews of dozens or hundreds of people. You can just get this summary of what are the most common product reviews on a product, and there you go, you can move on. I find myself just reading that and then deciding whether I like the product or not. And then Rufus, we've put a lot of effort. This is one of the most advanced models behind it that we've ever built at Amazon, because we wanted to make finding products easier. So you can ask a question like, hey, what are the best toys for a dinosaur-obsessed 5-year-old? Really interesting. It's rolling out definitely there in the US, in the UK. We just announced last week it's coming to Germany, Spain, Italy. Unfortunately, I think it's just going to miss Netherlands for Sinterklaas, so I'll still have to spend hours searching for toys for my kids. But anyway, very interesting and powerful technology that we've deployed. By the way, it runs on Inferentia chips that we at AWS developed ourselves. We have our own chip design department to make sure that these things run very performantly at a very low cost. You can check out these chips if you want on AWS. But I think you're not here for me to chat about Rufus. Let's look at the future a little bit. What direction are we heading to? And what we clearly see from the work of our customers, we've seen in the last year or so really the first Gen AI applications being deployed, actually in production. And we clearly see the rise of agents, and that's what I'm going to talk about a lot more, so I'm going to park it for a second, because the other things I'm not going to go into depth, but I'm going to mention here, right? Multimodal is clearly a trend. What it means, yeah, we expect LLMs to be able to deal with text and image and video, all kinds of data, and be able to understand and be trained on all kinds of data. That is just the default expectation nowadays from LLM-powered applications. The trend about multiple models, I think also in the morning before lunch we heard about the idea that there's so many models out there. Nobody's really trying to just pick one model for their corporation or for their enterprise anymore. And then finally, of course, AI policies. We're going to hear more about that after this session later in the afternoon, but we at AWS, we're clearly supporting a safe and responsible use of AI, and of course we try to work with policymakers to really come up with really risk-based approaches to regulate this technology that has a lot of potential and value, but also clear risk, of course. So let's talk about agents. What is this? Right, at the basic level, if you want to have an LLM to actually do something, that's what we call working with an agent, right? It has access to a certain set of actions. You ask him something, it will try to parse what you're asking him to do and break it down into the actions that it needs to do. It takes knowledge from certain repositories that it has access to, and then, of course, gives back an answer based on guardrails, right? Let's give a simple example, right? If you only have an LLM and a knowledge base, then this is how far you can get with such an assistant, right? I think many companies, if you're here from a corporate environment, you've seen Gen AI POCs, one of the natural first ones they get deployed is, okay, let's get all our HR policy documents into one place and let's get an LLM on top of it to ask some questions and get some feedback faster back from disparate sources. Now, if you have agents, you can take the next step and say, okay, now I know how much vacation days I have. Go book this for me, this vacation. And actually, the agent would go, use his access to certain APIs or systems and perform that action on your behalf. Simple 101 example. Let's bring this to more real life, right? So Toyota, for example, an actual customer of AWS, working in this direction, right? This is where they're starting. This is where they are right now, which is they want to provide more safety in a car for passengers. And so they developed this assistant that has access to the manuals of the car, but also to the actual readings of the sensors and stuff that are in the car right now, so that if you're sitting in the car and if you have an issue, it acts like an assistant to help you out. Now, I wish I had a version of this 2 weeks ago when my car broke down. It wasn't a Toyota, but I was on my way to the Hoge Veluwe with my wife for a long weekend, finally away, and on the road I was remaining stuck there, right? And I wish I didn't have had to spend time checking my insurance stuff, calling the dealer nearby, seeing if the whole issue is under guarantee or will I need to pay for it, arranging the transport of the broken car to the dealer, making an appointment to get it fixed, figure out do I need a rental car or not, all of that stuff. It kind of ruined my weekend. But yeah, with the next step from these would be to actually build agent-based systems that have the power of LLMs and can read the situation and help you out on the road. Okay, so we understand some simple examples of the concept of agents in the context of Gen AI applications, right? To think about where this is heading, think of an orchestra, right? Over time, these applications will not be based on a single agent. In an orchestra, right, you have the people who are specialized in their own instruments, and they're all coordinated by a conductor to bring together the whole art. And similarly, what we think will happen in the future in Gen AI, we will see these rise of specialized agents. Some people call it domain-specific agents that are all going to be orchestrated by different design patterns to bring together the art of Gen AI. So that's a little bit the vision where things are heading. Now let's double-click a bit more. What are some of the design patterns that are going to emerge? What we see currently is understood tech is being deployed pretty widely is the ability for agents to reflect. Think of the example where you ask a coding agent, give me a code, then you ask it, hey, is this correct? And often if you get the agent to reflect, it can actually correct itself or test it, or you can ask a code reviewer agent to do the same, right? Tool use, agents have access to a few set of tools, APIs that they can call in your behalf in your workflow. What is kind of emerging tech and very rapidly evolving in the research domain is the ability to plan. The ability to really understand more complex requests is quite important, and how to break it down into sequences of steps that agents with their own specialization can perform, and then orchestrating that whole thing and planning it efficiently is a very fast evolving area of research. And then think of multi-agent collaboration, right? There's a lot of experimentation going on how do you organize these agents that are now specialized into different ways of collaborating. Do you build hierarchies, or a subdomain is multi-agent debate? It turns out if you take Claude Sonnet to have a debate with a Llama 3 LLM, it's going to bring better results than having just one type of LLM debate with itself. So those are all very interesting patterns that are emerging in terms of how to combine the superpowers of agents. If you want to learn more, I know I'm just scratching the surface here because this is supposed to be just a bit of a vision and the brain teaser of what's going on, what we see happening. Highly recommend the speak of Andrew Ng, my favorite go-to source to keep up with the trends, also on the board of directors of Amazon, to check out his speech. Now these are kind of the capabilities, right? This still doesn't tell you, okay, which LLM should I use for organizing them into these patterns, right? And there it's interesting to look at an experiment that was shown in the world of coding assistants, right? Human Eval. How many people know Human Eval or heard of Human Eval? It's a well-known benchmark to basically compare how good coding assistants are. GPT 3.5, if you ask it, it's performed pretty poorly, I have to say. Huge jump when it goes to GPT-4. But what this graph is supposed to show is basically you can improve a lot the performance of an LLM by trying to apply and playing with those different design patterns that we just talked about. And you can get pretty amazing results out of it. That is why it's such an intense area of research, right? So that's where a lot of the exploration and direction is heading, kind of deep in the tech stack, right? What does this mean for the application area? You know, with the human interface, the interaction with these kind of apps that are powered by these complex design patterns. Well, for that, a good analogy would be, a couple years ago when we thought of self-driving cars. We structured them into these levels, right? Level 0 to level 5, where 0 is no automation, and level 5 is full automation, where you don't have a driver at all, or even if you had one, there's no steering wheel or pedals to use, right? The car just works and takes a person from A to B. Similarly, we can think of how we'll see these design patterns evolve, right? The simplest level is the single agent. You can build some simple use cases with it. We see many POCs in that domain. supervised agents when you try to create a first level of hierarchy and some structure, and you get agents to specialize in their own actions, in their own knowledge domains, having restricted access to certain knowledge bases and so on. Level 3 is when these hierarchies start to get complicated, perhaps because it's cross-organization collaboration between agents owned by different organizations. And still the expectation at level 3 is that, when you ask a more complicated task, it takes a few minutes to in the end come back with an answer. Level 4 is when we get to async agents, in the sense that now we are getting used to giving a lot more complex questions to agents and being used to waiting even for hours to get back an answer. An example could be, hey, come up with a molecule that has certain chemical compositions or design goals for a formulation. And then part of that being, of course, agents doing research, agents having access to your own IPs and documents and previous research in this domain, but also in the workflow having actual physical tests in the lab happening, reading the results and getting back and so on. So that's why the answer can take hours. And then level 5 is full autonomous agents. This is more in the domain of vision. We're not very close to that, but imagine having autonomous agents with the power of LLM who are really reading the environment and your real life and helping you out in actual situations without you having to think much about it. I think this needs some illustration. This is abstract, I get it. So that's why I'm going to invite Felipe to come up here to tell us, what would be your vision of a level 5 LLM if you had access to such an LLM or system coming here this morning or in the past 24 hours, right? So, Felipe, over to you.
Thank you, András. And now? Yes, now it's working. Good afternoon again, everyone. Just a quick recap. My name is Felipe, and I lead the generative AI business for AWS in the north of Europe, so Netherlands included. And I have generative AI for breakfast, for lunch. I have nightmares about it, but I have a lot of fun. I talk to hundreds of customers during the year, and that's where we get those insights to be able to come here and share with you. Hopefully every year, so I'm happy to be here again this year, seeing people coming back and new folks curious about what's going on in the industry. So yeah, I'm really glad for the next step I can share a real example, because this morning, I was in Oslo yesterday evening, and this morning I need to get a plane, come early here, get a train in Schiphol to make sure I'll be here to talk to you today. And for my job, I do this quite often. And I don't know for you, but for me, it's a pain. I don't know if you've been getting trains in Schiphol recently, but sometimes they cancel, sometimes the flights cancel, right? And let's just make the hypothesis scenario that was coming from Paris, just to have a mix of train and planes. How does it usually go? Now, for me, if I live in Paris, if I need to come here, a few months, weeks in advance, I book a train, most probably because I prefer train than planes, set my agenda, block the time of travel, see if I have some additional slots, make some meetings in between just to optimize time, and everything's set. And hopefully, it goes okay. And usually, one day before, the day before, I check what's going on. Okay? But sometimes, as you can see here, traffic information, the rails in France sometimes have disruptions. And if I leave to check last moment, like this morning, panic, right? Because, oh gosh, how do I get that? I'm going to lose the presentation. Then I need to open different bookings. I need to check, okay, should I go by train now? Should I get a plane? Which one I prefer? If I get train, what's the risk of that line being disrupted as well? And then once I make a decision, what do I do for all the meetings I had scheduled? Because now I have a different schedule, and I need to cancel. And then I bought a new ticket. I need to go to the expense system of my company to to book it again, etc., etc., etc. It's a pain, and I think some of you share this pain as well. So imagine a world where that could be better. And that's where we see autonomous agents playing a role. Because, what if, what could happen? Imagine if I have my own personal agent that checks my agenda over time and checks something's going wrong. Maybe 1 week before, check the status of the flight, or the day before. Or even better, I booked my ticket through the rail company, and maybe the company has an agent that's going to inform me there was a disruption, and I need to update my calendar. So in this case, my agent could realize, oh, we have a presentation this afternoon, you're going to miss it, so you need to change the plans. And then my agent's going to check booking systems. Maybe it's going to connect another agent, I don't know, booking agent, just an example, and check for trains, planes. It's going to take into account my own preference, because maybe for sustainability I prefer trains. Check the risk, make a decision for me, and that's the key part. Make a decision, book the new trip, put the new trip in my schedule, see which meetings I cannot make anymore, contact the people or the agents of the people, put that in place, expense for me automatically. And for me, I just wake up in the morning, have my amazing coffee, check my calendar, and go take my train or my plane. I don't care about it anymore, okay? And the thing that's also nice, think about it, the first slide that András presented, when it works, right, we don't call AI anymore. What I'm going to be feeling at the moment is just my calendar works. Like in the mails, like we have spam checks, right? But you don't label like all the mail tools they have spam, AI is working, like just a feature you expect to be there. And that's how we see things evolving. So now changing a little bit, I hope you got excited about agents. So some of you might go, tonight at home, I want to do this. I want to get my hands dirty and try it out. Well, if you want to try it out, biasly, I would recommend you to try Amazon Bedrock Agents. So you do have a managed service that makes it much easier for you to explore and also to put those things into production. So with Bedrock Agents, everything that András presented before, so it can decompose into different tasks, so the main request into different steps to be taken for you, and also can access your own internal data, your knowledge base in the company in a secure way. That's important for you if you're doing this for your company. It can also execute actions on your behalf. It can observe the results. So remember the reflection part and the design partners can also do that to make sure your results are going to improve. And then think about the next step and do that until it's finished. So if you want to try it out, you can try it with agents. And while you do that in a managed way, instead of you yourself choosing your own model, coding in Python, creating the prompts, and trying the different algorithms yourself, well, do that for learning, that's great. But over time you want to go faster, bring things to production. So if you use such servers, you can automate the orchestration, which is pretty important. The orchestration is a key part of agents working well. It's going to simplify for you to build those AI assistants, and also security and privacy. If you have your data, for example, AWS, it can use the same roles and permissions you already have set up to make sure only the people who can access that data is going to see that. Right? Because sometimes you're going to ask about HR policies, and for some reason, some people cannot see certain policies. Just an example. So you want to make sure also when you interact with those agents, they have the right roles and access set up. Good, so let me try to recap what you saw so far and then move to more interactive part. So first, what I believe personally is that AI, is going to generate more value with agentic flows. For me personally, if just the booking system works, I'm really happy. But think, cross tasks, cross industries. Imagine supply chain. How many trucks, shipments got lost and delays, traffic jams, you have an accident, and then there's a truck with a package who's not going to be able to deliver. It's a lot of information, and there's still a lot of manual work in between. So from the moment you have agents, you can have a truck agent talk to a delivery system, to a dispatch center, everything being managed automatically, and then you know what's happening, and you can optimize that. You can do that for supply chain, for HR, for research, for many things. So there is a lot to be gained in this next step of generative AI. Another one, so this is a thing that's funnier, is also the behavior part. Our expectations, the way you interact with those tools are going to change. Just an example, think today, I don't know how many of you still remember cell phones of friends by heart. I used to remember when I was young, and then you got a phone, and then there's things you don't do anymore. And if you look the way interactive companies, in the past you had a problem, you'd call and wait and chat and have problems and call 3 times and get upset. Nowadays, many folks prefer just to open WhatsApp, contact the customer service of a company, sometimes not even a person, and just get a response faster, okay? So we're changing behaviors. Here is also going to change the way we probably do research. As András described, maybe you want to research a new molecule or new materials for semiconductor design. You give a task to an agent, like you do in a company, create a new project, but then you wait. Because those agents might trigger also mechanical processes that you need to wait for. So it's just a different way to interacting. In the past, if you want to search something, google.com, you expect the answer milliseconds to be there. You don't want to wait. Now, it's a change, so we also need to adapt. Last but not the least, the graph that András presents is really interesting. Because what tells you, when you start, most of the people, they start with single-toe agents, like the level 1, just to learn and get things done, okay? Which is great. And you go for the biggest and best model because you want to be more generic. the single agent needs to do a lot of different things. What you see happen that's much more efficient, actually get a smaller model that's going to be less costly, lower latency, and make that model specialize in a very specific task, okay? Like in orchestra, right? Somebody plays the guitar, somebody plays the piano. Each one of them specialize, and then by using all the agentic workflow, design patterns, you can make it much better as shown in the graph, right? So that's another trend you see happening. That's going to be better at least than zero shot, just a prompt in a bigger and more advanced model. Right, so now comes the interesting part. I want to check if you remember what you presented, basically. I'm going to show you some demos, and I'm going to ask what are the design patterns here, and I'm going to see if you know which level, just for fun, is being presented. So I hope it works, because I have my laptop connected here through a conference call, through the Wi-Fi, real time with you. So, things can happen. Bear with me. Let's see. And sorry, apologies, I need to sit. I don't like that, but otherwise I might fall on top of you. So is the call still on? While we do that, okay, that's good. That's my mouse. We are connected. Before we go to the examples, we had some questions about generative AI in the beginning, okay? So now about agents. Who in this room has used agents? And it can be GPTs, I'm not gonna get upset. Okay, not bad, more than half. Who has created its own agent? Oh, good, 15% trying to, okay. And now the most difficult one, in your companies, who is working to put agents into production? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, okay. Reducing, but better than nothing. Good, let me try to show you some examples of how you use agents, kind of to inspire you for the folks who are not doing that. Yeah, we are back. For the people who are not doing that, you can have an idea how other companies are doing it, and you can have fun together. The first one is a silly example, is more portfolio analysis and the ones that everybody uses, the hello world of agents and generative AI. But I think we can look together to the traces of what the agent's doing, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about it. So let's see how it goes. The video font's quite small, but I'm going to be reading this for you, okay? So don't worry about that. So the first question here is, how does Amazon feel about their 2021 performance? So on the left, you can see here there's a model thinking about it, and then you got an answer, right? And now, on the right, you have the traces, what the agent is doing. And what's interesting here, the first reaction of the agent was, to understand how Amazon feels about the performance, I should first look to the relevant information in Amazon financial reports. So reasoning, okay, what do I need to do to achieve this task? And then, well, it doesn't know, but I can get, using the knowledge base, use the files I have uploaded in my system, I can get this information to provide a feedback. So that's what the agent's doing. So let's continue. And that's why, then you have step 3, that's generating the answer here. That's the answer you're seeing on the left. I cannot read, so I think you cannot read as well, but basically, I tell you it's the same. You could have a check step here as well to see if the answer was correct, but think about it when I ask you the questions later. So the second question is, what was the closing share price of AAA in 2018? So similar thing, share price, then the model realized, okay, I don't have this information, but again, I can use a tool, and I can use an API here, a stock query, to get this information and to display this information. So very easy example. You can see where we are going here. And the last question you're going to ask here, what's the optimal portfolio for AAA, DDD, and WWW, which is going to be, again, a similar thing. So it's trying to create a portfolio for you. And then here you cannot read, but basically saying to determine portfolio, I can use this tool that's portfolio analysis. It's going to get information, and it's giving an answer here. You should get 48 shares of DDD, 144 of W, and etc. Okay? That's a very simple example. So now I want to hear from you. Let's think about design patterns first. Right? Let me recap. There was planning, there was tool use, there's orchestration, and there was, who remembers the first one? Reflection. Okay? Who thinks there was, just show of hands, I'm not going to put you in the spot. Who thinks there was reflection here? Okay, a few people. Tool use. Tool use, there was a lot of API calls. Come on, show of hands. Yes, there was tool use, okay. And then orchestration. A few folks. And planning. Okay, so again, this is semantics. This is a framework we're defining ourselves, so up to debate. But in this case, what I would say, there was orchestration, not much. Actually, you could see it was the same model, just calling different tools. So it was not calling other models. So not many orchestration. Tool use for sure. There was an API call, there's a check for knowledge bases. So the model is understanding it needs to go after something else and is able to take actions by itself, okay? In terms of reflection, there was no reflection. Because the moment it got an answer, it just dumped the answer out. Oh, not showing anymore. If you'd have a reflection, you'd ask a question, okay, that's the answer. Do you confirm? Can you ground this? Where it's coming from? So you think more about it to make sure you have a good answer. And planning, little bit, you broke down into tasks, but I wouldn't say there was planning here, okay? Good, so I think now you know how it works, you're ready for the next one. Just levels. Who thinks level 1? Raise hands. Level 1 would be single-toe agent. Okay, a few people, 2, 3. Level 2 would be hierarchical agents. Level 3, 4, 5. So here will be level 1. Again, same model doing everything. If one of the calls, for example, for the portfolio analysis would be calling a specialized model who take care of that, that would be level 2, okay? But, again, semantics, we don't need to debate that. Doesn't matter, just for people who like theory. But still, that's how the field is evolving. This one is more interesting. This one is a telco assistant. So imagine a telco company. It has cells, right, where you get networking, basically. And those places, you have a lot of antennas, machines, things can go wrong, and you have sensors where you get information from. And you have a lot of operators who need to take care of that and fix that, okay? So what I'm going to show to you is how they usually go. So let's say there's a problem. We get an alarm, and you can see here, the alarm is integrated to Slack, which is very nice, and you're going to get, okay, there's a network failure, and I'm John, and I want to fix it. So instead of me opening a lot of things, calling people, checking what's going on, you can see the telco AI ops assistant was tagged on the message. So very soon, you're going to see a bot. In a few seconds, yeah, there it goes. There is a reply. So now we got an agent checking the information and giving to me, John, an easier way to get started. It's telling me which cell is not available, what are the possible problems, and it is giving me a link to a dashboard to take a look at it. Now the screen is back. So very useful. I start my morning in a much faster way than checking many stuff. And then now it's going to open this dashboard, and you can see here in the dashboard, you can see a yellow dot. Okay, that's the area where you have a problem. It's going to click on it, and you see there is this place that's inactive, it's not working. So there was an alarm, there's a failure in the system, and if you don't take care of it, people are not going to get network, and they're going to get upset. And what's cool here, once you click on that button, it's going to trigger new agents who are going to investigate the problem. So usually how do you go? A person will need to get different data sources, because maybe you have temperature sensor somewhere. Maybe you have antenna data somewhere else. Different warehouses of data that needs to be checked. It takes a lot of time. In this case, you're just orchestrating a lot of agents, going to those different places, collecting the information, and an agent summarizing the final information back to me to come to a faster decision, okay? So that, a few seconds, this is the alarm. Those are the different information you get. Summarize which is major, which one should I look first. And now I could keep on looking, or I have a third-party company who take care of this stuff for me. I just one button and automatically create a ticket, and somebody's going to be sent there with the information they need to fix it right away. And this is really helping people to focus on the thing that matter the most. All the finding the data that different places, cleaning up the data, all that can be automated through agents, which is very effective. But of course, people might be curious. So in the end, now I have 5 hours back in my daily life. Maybe I want to debug this myself. So this is the ticket I mentioned. So the ticket is automatically created, and you can double check. You can give a mail. You can send a message. But I don't know if you saw on the screen before, on this side, there was also a chat. So I could chat with the model. So here the ticket is created, and try to root cause myself. So I can ask the model, okay, what do you think is the problem? What's going on here? And how can you make it better? And this way, you can keep improving your flows. How much time I still have? 2 minutes. Good. So I think you got the gist of it. I'm not going to make you show hands again, because I don't have much time. What I'm going to do next is to close with something fun. But here, just to give an idea which level you're looking at, this was at least level 2, because you have hierarchy. We are talking to different agents One could say, just 1 second. One could say maybe level 5, because there was an alert, and the model responded by itself, autonomously, but not really. If you look to the whole flow, there was always a human in the loop, there was a human taking decisions, humans to click a lot of buttons. Sorry, apologies. So what we expect in level 5 is that we don't need any human interaction, okay? Now, the last one, and I really hope the gods of demo are with me today, I want to do something real time with you about this event. And let me see if it works. So one thing I try to do for today, I'm coming here. And I don't want to look to all the agenda, I'm lazy. I want to know which session should I attend. And instead of open reading, I can just have a knowledge base or have an agent. This is the link of the event. Tell me where should I go. You know my preference. Do this for me. I'm going to try to do this with you in 1 minute and see how it goes. And I hope it inspires you to think about use case to get, optimize your own life as well. So in theory, I have all this stuff I can copy and paste here. Yes, there we go. So my first question, putting myself on the spot. I'm attending the AI Summit Brainport. I want to learn about AI agents. Which talk should I attend? Please work, please work, please work. Woohoo! Based on the information provided in the data source, I'm going to show you soon, you should attend the presentation by Amazon Web Service, Felipe and András Kővári. The focus of the session is on AI. And you can see here, source is getting from the expert track of the event. Okay? This is a knowledge base. So depending on the abstraction part, you can call agent or just a knowledge base. But if you think about it, here is Amazon Q. We can also create plugins. So from these, you could also have an agent who's going to go to my calendar and put this session automatically. So it's up to you to configure that. Now, to make it even more difficult, let me continue trying, to make it break. I want to learn about the EU AI Act. What should I do? Oh, good. Apparently, there's a session this by Susan. I hope I don't pronounce the surname bad. Homerson. I think she's around here because she's the next one. There it goes. So if you're curious about the EU AI Act, you should stay and check this presentation. Okay? I'm almost there. I'm almost there. So the assumption here is that, of course, I was doing this before coming, so don't forget that's afternoon already. I also think there's a presentation from NXP. I want to attend. When is it? Okay? And if all works fine. There it goes. There was a presentation from Patrick Atala from NXP that was at 12:30. And now, the most difficult of it all, I want a schedule. I just don't want answers, right? We are talking about agents here, so could I have a schedule of it? So I would like to attend the sessions you just shared. Can make a schedule for me. I'm going to arrive at 10 a.m., but I want to leave before 4:30. And also give some time for me to network, because I like that. And give me the answer structure, because, don't talk too much, basically. You still, when you do that as agents, you put that in the prompt. When you create your agent, you don't write this, based on your preference. So let's see what we get. Yeah, so arrive at 10, and you have the welcome planner. That's good. And there's also the keynote that you should attend. I like that. And then go to the session at 2:30, 2:15 of AWS. And then you have the EU AI session, right timing, I hope. And see some pictures of the finalists of that's happening at 4:20. So good. I think it's good. Yeah, assuming I can do that in 10 minutes and I have a few time to network, so not that great. But still, I think you get the point, right? And then to go even further here, you can create your own plugins to Q, can connect to Salesforce, can connect to Zenforce, and can automatically create tickets for you. What I could do here, okay, make me a ticket, can have a Jira ticket, and then somebody's going to implement an agenda for me. Good. That's what I want to show you. No, sorry. Last slide. Because if you're curious, if you want to learn more, unfortunately, we don't have time for Q&A now. But, sorry. The slide should be coming. If you're a technical person and you want to go home tonight and do hands-on, you can get this QR code that's going to be shared here, and you have a workshop that you can do by hand, how to do multi-agent collaboration yourself. That's not my slide, though. I'm going to keep on talking. So, András, should be on your screen if I'm still sharing. Anyways, and if you want to learn more, we do have an AWS booth here at the event. So just when you cross there where there was the food before, where you can talk to solutions architects, to me, to go more deeper on it, great. That's the slide. So that's the hands-on workshop. And then I'll let you scan the QR code if you want. So that's for you to play with agents and build your own multi-system agents at home or in your company. Next slide, please. I saw some people in the registration, some people here from the public sector. If you want to know how to do that, but maybe you don't have the resources, right? AWS also has an initiative of 50 million GenAI fund that you, as a public sector entity, can apply for and get funding to help to put those things into production. So if that's interesting to you, come to us. We have people who can explain the program there in the booth. And lastly, the two last slides I mentioned about the booth before. Next slide, please. So those are the people you can meet in the booth. Go there, have fun, and they have 5 demos they can show to you. They have a multi-agent orchestrator demo that you can get more details, and other ones that you can find out there. Lastly, I know I'm late. We love feedback. So if you can scan this QR code and just let us know how was this presentation and how we can improve, I would really appreciate it. Thank you very much again. I hope you enjoyed the session.